How's it going, guys? Winner Kills here, and welcome to a brand new Locals feature match. We are here in round 2 from July 24th's Locals, and we have Gravekeepers versus Photons on the left, piloted by yours truly. Now, I do want to preface this match that the Gravekeeper player, I believe, is somewhat new to the game. So if there are some questionable plays or things that don't seem 100% correct, please bear with this man as he gets reacclimated with the game yet again. We all had to start somewhere, so again, just keep that in mind. So he does win the die roll and decides to go first, revealing 2 copies of Imperial Tombs of Necro Valley, and I think one other card. I'm not actually sure what it is. I know it has something to do with Necro Valley and Gravekeeper stuff, though, that's for sure. So he's going to activate Duality, and he will reveal, a Necro Valley or Imperial Tomb of Necro Valley, and he will take that. And speaking of Necro Valley, he's going to go ahead and activate that and set 1 monster and 2 spell traps face down. One of them we can guess is Imperial Tombs of Necro Valley. Now, Necro Valley is actually, as you see, I have to pick the card up here and read it because it's been a while since I've had a Necro Valley actually dropped on me. And I wanted to give it a good read over to make sure that I actually understood the card and made sure I could still do the plays I wanted to do, because Photon is a deck that really isn't super graveyard reliant. It doesn't really do a lot of banishing from the graveyard or summoning from the graveyard. Really, the only 2 cards, I guess you could say, that would do that. I guess 3 cards for my particular build. One would be Cloud Dragon, summoning itself from the grave. The other would be Galaxy Trance, and I think another card also would be Galaxy Eye Cypher X Dragon, using its standby phase effect. Necro Valley would be able to stop all of those. But, those are very, very few cards in the deck. So, ultimately, it's not going to be that big of a deal. The Prosperity does find me a Galaxy Eyes, which is really, really huge here. So, we go ahead and normal summon that Cloud Dragon, which is going to come in clutch to get that Galaxy Eyes I added to my hand on the field. And I'm going to go ahead and follow up with the Expedition. I really, really loved Cloud Dragon, I got to say. Cloud Dragon has come in clutch so incredibly much. And that just rhymed there, and I didn't even know it, but yeah. Cloud Dragon is just amazing. I would highly recommend a lot of Galaxy players at least try it at one if you're not already on the card. Now, something happens here that should not be able to happen. This is my fault. 100% my fault for not bothering to pick up my opponent's card and read it, because Imperial Tombs of Necro Valley says you need to have Necro Valley face up and a Gravekeeper monster in your possession, and obviously face down ones do not count. So yeah, again, my fault for not catching that, but it is luckily not making a big difference, at least currently. So my opponent is going to draw and set a card face down, and then he's going to go ahead and flip up a copy of Gravekeeper's Spy, which I think either adds or summons one from the deck, and I have a set Imperm. I also have Ash and Valor in hand as well. So I go ahead and activate Imperm, but my opponent tries to activate the Imperial Tomb that he just set, and I luckily catch that. That technically, if it had been set for longer than a turn, he would have technically been able to activate Imperial Tombs because he has Spy face up and he has Necro Valley face up, but he obviously just set that card, so not able to activate it here in this particular window. And the card he's currently holding right now, if he were to activate that, it would be negated by Impermanence's on-field effect, where if it's activated while it's set, any spell or trap that activates on the same column that it activated in is negated for the rest of the turn. So yeah, Impermanence is going to stop that, and he decides to go ahead and end his turn there. So, I mean, I technically shouldn't know he has a live Imperial Tomb, but he does at this point. And as I draw another Ash for turn, so I really can't, or no, I think I drew Orbital. It looks like I drew another Ash. But I have Ash, Valor, and Orbital. There's just, not a whole lot that I can do. So, I try to play it fair. I pretend like, okay, I shouldn't know he has an Imperial Tomb. Let's just play it out. He's obviously still new to the game. So let's just play it out as I normally would. Let's equip Orbital. Let's try to get our engine going. And there, of course, he does negate with the Imperial Tomb. Now, one other thing, too, as we swing in for 1,300 damage over that Spy, which is boosted by Necro Valley by 500. In a situation like this, you don't always have to, activate your top deck if you really need to get your engine going. Especially in a situation where I have a massive beater on field and 2 hand traps, I can afford to hold that Orbital in hand and kind of wait a few turns, especially since my opponent's deck is very, very slow-paced. and isn't really doing much at all. So just one thing to sort of point out when it comes to pacing, if you feel like you're trying to rush and in a hurry to see part of your engine to close out the game quickly when your opponent is playing, just as slow as you are, there almost, isn't really any rush. So I go ahead and set one card face down here, which, to be totally honest, was a copy of Cosmic Cyclone, one copy that I forgot to side out from my previous round. I did actually side out the other 2 copies, but I somehow forgot to side out the third one. So, being honorable, I guess, I don't use it, and I just set it, and I pass turn, because I don't want to attack into a set monster that I can't hit with Valor because it's not my turn. So I decide, I'll just kind of pass here and wait, and if he flips it up on his turn, I'll just hit it with the Valor. And yeah, and after he passes, I draw into another Ash. So I knew I drew into another Ash at some point. Multiple hand traps here, really not helping out whatsoever. So again, I just decide to pass, holding on to the double Ash and the Valor, waiting for it to try anything so that I can stop it with one of my hand traps. But, he's just going to set one and pass, sticking to the game plan. And then luckily on my turn, I draw Galaxy Wizard, which is going to come in so clutch. Finally, we're getting access to our engine, just so long as that back row isn't something, that's going to slow me down. I mean, obviously at this point, can't be an Imperial Tombs because he does not have a face-up Gravekeeper monster. And that Wizard is going to resolve, allowing me to add Expedition. So I use Expedition here, and I actually decide to summon out Soldier out of the deck to use it as a way to get to Afterglow instead of summoning Afterglow directly out of the deck. And the main reason I did this was just to deck. Then I found myself doing this a couple times over the course of the night where I felt as though I could get away with it. Just because I don't want to be like top decking Galaxy Soldiers. So the sooner I can get Galaxy Soldiers out of the deck, even in a simple interaction like this, I'm definitely going to try and do it. So we go ahead and overlay the Galaxy Eyes and the Afterglow. And I was looking at going into Cypher here because I wanted to be able to step up into Cypher X and full armor and go into a Zeus with a lot of materials. So that's what you're going to see me go for now. We overlay Cypher X on top of Cypher Blade. And then on top of that, we go for the full armor Photon Dragon. And we're going to go ahead and use the full armor Dragon. And that is going to clear the Necro Valley. And that's going to allow us to activate the Afterglow Dragon in our grave. And I also have Cloud Dragon in grave as well now, which I can actually finally use now that we are no longer under Necro Valley. Although there really isn't a point to use it, because if I were to attach the Cloud Dragon to full armor, it would be a 5 material Zeus, and obviously if it's not 6 materials, there's no point in trying to get 5 materials, right? Because obviously Zeus takes 2 materials to use his effect. So we get a 3K Galaxy Eyes out. We have our full armor out. And at this point, I'm just going to like, you know what? I'm just going to go into the battle phase and start applying pressure. He hasn't flipped up any of these monsters on his turn, so they can't be that bad. And lo and behold, the first one is not. And I believe the second one ends up being, yeah, a copy of Commandant. And after that, I go ahead and summon a copy of Divine Arsenal Zeus up in the extra monster zone for materials. Feeling pretty good about that. And a deck that's especially as Spell and Trap reliant as his, going to be very, very effective in this particular matchup. Now, we've played, I think we've showed Gravekeeper decks on the channel before, like maybe a month or so ago, and it was more so like Dragoon Turbo with a Gravekeeper engine, more so Dragoon Turbo with Necro Valley. This seems to be more of a pure Necro Valley build, and again, he is newer to the game, and as part of One Deck 1 Month, I always try to get on the feature match at least one time, and this just ended up being the round that I chose, so it is what it is. We go ahead and put the Zeus into attack and swing in for game. And just like that, we are into Game 2. And as we start Game 2, I want to mention a quick shout out to Imperium Duelist. They sell all sorts of amazing TCG accessories, sleeves for main deck, double sleeving. They have binders, backpacks, deck boxes, and more. Check them out at the link below, and don't forget to use my discount code WINNERKILLS10OFF at checkout to save 10% off your entire order. And if you guys are buying anything on TCG Player, please do not forget to use my affiliate link down below to help support the channel for cards you'd already be buying. And I also want to mention one thing too regarding the mat that I'm using. Obviously, that was my first mat that I ever did through Imperium. Artwork done by Frankie Art. And it actually just sold out yesterday. So I want to give a huge thank you to everybody that bought that mat. I really, really appreciate it. It's been like a kind of a dream come true, if you will, to not only have had the opportunity to have a mat like this that I came up with the design for, and then it was, turned into a real life thing with the help of some very talented people, and then it sold out as well. So thank you guys so much for that. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, getting back to the game here, starting with Thrasher into Soldier, adding back Afterglow, normal summoning Cloud Dragon. Cloud Dragon was glued to my hand this tournament. I'm not gonna lie. I think I drew Cloud Dragon once or twice at least every match in my opening hand. And to be honest, you would think drawing a one of like that you'd complain, but I never, I am glad I drew Cloud Dragon. Every time I drew it, I was like ecstatic that I drew the Cloud Dragon. Like, I was like really happy that I ended up drawing it. So you're going to see me go into a rank 8 here. Now, some of you guys might have been expecting a Felgran. I was looking at it, but I'm like, you know what? Why don't I go for this and see how it works? Basically, for those that don't know what Galaxy Eye Cypher X Dragon does, is basically you can detach 2 materials to make it so all light monsters you control cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects until the end of their next turn. Which, me playing number 90 Turbo, if you've been keeping up with the One Deck 1 Month series, number 90 Turbo tends to lose to 1 impermanence, and Cypher X Dragon is the perfect workaround to that. Not to mention that Cypher X can come in very clutch in my next standby phase by returning a rank 9 or lower Dragon Xyz monster to the extra deck and then immediately Xyz summoning it back on top of Cypher X, which sets up all sorts of neat plays with Zeus and Full Armor and Cypher Blade, all that kind of stuff. So we still get to our number 90, which right now can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and none of my monsters can be targeted either, which is really, really strong. So my opponent is going to have to face this board, which is pretty big, pretty menacing. He's going to do that by setting a monster, and activating, of course, Necro Valley. Now, he looks like he's going to proceed to the end phase here, where I'm going to activate number 90 as always, allowing me to add a Galaxy or Photon card from my deck to my hand, or either from my deck and attaching it to number 90 as material. So we're going to go ahead and take a copy of Wizard, a fantastic starter, and a great follow-up. One of the reasons why always trying to establish number 90 is so important is for that search effect, giving you a follow-up, giving you a recovery when the deck oftentimes has a very hard time doing that, recovering. So I top deck a Cell Light for turn. How funny is that? And that's why I'm glad I actually cut a Cell Light down to 1, because it is basically your 4th copy of Wizard, but drawing a Cell Light in Wizard is so suboptimal, and don't even get me started on drawing double a Cell Light or if your Cell Light gets Ash. So I decided I would cut the Cell Light down to 1, just to give that slight bit of boost of consistency trying to get to Wizard, while trying to reduce the chance of drawing multiples or drawing the combination that I unfortunately had here as much as I possibly could. So but I don't think it's going to matter too much here. I also was actually trying to use Cypher X's effect in standby phase, but then I realized that Necro Valley is in the field. I'm like, oh, I can't even do that. And I also use Wizard to try to grab Trance, and I'm like, wait, I can't even use Trance right now because of Necro Valley. But then I remind myself, oh, I can just go into Full Armor and attempt to clear the Necro Valley, and then I can Trance if I want to. So that's basically the game plan here. Now, one other card to worry about in this particular matchup too, which a lot of people might forget, is no matter how good or seasoned the player is with the deck, Royal Tribute is still a pretty sacky card. If you control Necro Valley, you can play it. It's a normal spell. Both players send all monsters, I think, from their hand to the graveyard. It's a pretty nuts card, and I am lucky it was never actually activated on me. So that much, because that could actually be pretty devastating. A very monster-heavy deck and a lot of monsters that don't do anything in the graveyard, yeah, it could be kind of a train wreck. So, as expected, we go into the Full Armor to clear the Necro Valley. Trance is able to resolve, summoning out Brave and Galaxy Eyes, going into number 38, again, to either stop a potential another copy of Necro Valley coming down or stopping a Royal Tribute. And then I'm going to go into Cypher Blade over top of Full Armor. and that is going to allow us to pop another card, because Cypher Blade can pop any card on the field regardless of position. The only unfortunate thing about Cypher Blade is that it cannot be used as Xyz's material, so that means we cannot do any Zeus shenanigans with it. But yeah, it's hardly a setback. And yeah, we're going to go into the battle phase, and he's just going to go ahead and admit defeat, and Photon takes it 2-0. If you guys want to see more of my content, click on the videos popping up on the bottom of the screen right now. And as always, a huge shout out goes to our 2 Divine level channel members, and they are Cadillacs84 and Pony Stark. Thank you guys so much for your continued and very, very generous support of this channel.